What's the greatest mental health tip you've gotten? Never evaluate your life when you're tired. This is so true. Ever notice things seem much worse at night when worries seem at their worst? The next morning your brain can think of ways to fix them, and most times they aren't there the next day. Edit. My mother told me this once, and I've never forgotten it. I used to get really anxious at night because the thoughts would flood in when I was tired, and then I'd try to figure them out or worry about them. Now, the second I start to think about something at night, I tell myself I won't be able to actually figure this out right now and will only make it worse because I'm tired. So I will think of it tomorrow. I cannot control other people's actions. It's just too bad their actions directly impact me. Pretty much. I think it's more about surrendering control though. As if I ever had control. It's not about surrendering control. It's about taking control of yourself. You can't change what other people do, but you can control how you react to it. If someone wants to walk all over you, that doesn't mean you have to lie down and let them. Don't take criticism from someone you won't take advice from. This is great advice. You now have permission to give me criticism. This is great advice, and also a sick burn. If you said it in front of somebody criticizing you, it would be such a laugh to see their rotten-faced then pissed off face. Speaking of being confused, ocken-faced. Pretend you are your own child. Weird concept, but hear me out. That negative self-talk that's beating you down. Would you speak to a child like that? What would you say to your inner child if someone told them they were an idiot, or were fat, or were useless or unloved? Practice a little kindness toward yourself. I'm trying really hard to do this, and this concept helps me extend compassion toward myself. That's the biggest thing that made a difference in my mental health last year. My mind was basically bullying itself without me realizing it. Once I realized what I was doing, being kinder to myself made a huge difference. That realization was the kickstart that got me to lose 75 pounds. It's okay to not react to every bad memory that loves to resurface in your brain on the daily. It takes a bit of practice, but if you try, you can let those bad/embarrassing/cringy memories just wash up and over you instead of hitting you like a tidal wave. So I had dealt with some trauma and a memory kept popping up in my mind. I talked to someone about it, my wife, and the memory faded a bit. I then talked to someone who was involved in the incident and that released a lot. It's very cathartic. This is really good advice. Actually, talking about traumatic events allows you to let go of them. It seems contradictory, but there is a lot of science to back it up. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing it badly. If you can't handle doing it perfectly, finish it. Half-ass it at least. If you can't groom yourself due to depression, at least brush your teeth. Edit. Thank you for my very first award. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. / Martin Luther King Jr. Don't know why, but this almost made me cry. Self-care isn't always a bath and a hot chocolate. Sometimes it's giving your head a little shake and doing what needs to be done. For me, it's often dragging myself out of the house for a walk. Gets the blood pumping and makes a world of difference to my headspace. Yep. For me, self-care is about 50% doing stuff I want that relaxes me and 50% doing stuff I don't want to do that needs to be done. I forced myself to do stuff that needed to be done and had been waiting a while over the weekend, and it feels so good that it's done. Personally, I find it easier to do things I don't want to do when I have plenty of time to complete the task. Some good music, and potentially some weed as well. Parent yourself the way your own parents never did. I'm still learning to do this, but I'm definitely much better at loving and forgiving myself. Hell yeah. I may not be good at loving myself, but I'm good at forgiving myself. If you can't beat the fear, just do it scared. Edit. Wow. I don't use Reddit too much, so when I went to bed last night after posting this, I didn't think it would blow up like this. Thank you all for the replies and awards. Can a man still be brave if he's afraid? Apostrophe. That is the only time a man can be brave. Apostrophe. Where's this from? I've heard it somewhere, but can't remember where. It's from a Game of Thrones. The conversation is between Bran and his father Eddard. Nobody has this shit figured out. Do your best and wing it like the rest of us. It kinda made me feel like the feeling of being lost and unsure of what to do next was normal. I'm 72. You speak the truth. Everyone's winging it. Not me, but saw it in a Tumblr post. Run the dishwasher twice. Apostrophe. To put it simply, someone had revealed to their therapist that they felt really crappy about not having the energy to hand wash their dishes. The therapist suggested that they just put their dishes through the dishwasher twice. They point out that you're not really supposed to do that. But the therapist essentially shrugs and goes, who says you can't? You don't need to follow all these little rules. The patient takes their therapist's advice and runs the dishwasher twice. They also shower while lying down and put their folded clothes wherever they fit instead of in neat little sections. In short, you don't need to follow arbitrary rules. Just complete tasks in whatever way is easiest for you. You can follow rules when you have the mental energy to do so. Edit. Thanks for the awards and silver, kind strangers. Reminds me of a similar Tumblr post where the patient said they don't have the energy to even make a sandwich to eat. Therapist says you can eat the ingredients separately. Nobody said you have to put it all together into a sandwich. Apostrophe. One of my favorite responses to this one was, given the choice between socially unacceptable behavior and death, choose a fistful of ham. Every time. Apostrophe. The validation you seek from others is validation you refuse to give yourself. But how does one validate themselves? Not an expert and your mileage may vary. But for me personally, practicing gratitude was a big help. When you spend enough time thinking about the people and things that you're grateful for, I found that eventually some of that positive energy can extend to how you view yourself. Also, you're probably a pretty good person who's doing their best. That, in and of itself, is admirable. Remember, you're more than you give yourself credit for. There are people that might super focused on their jobs and feel like that's what their whole life is about. Try to remember that you are also a friend, a family member, etc. There are so many different aspects which make up who we are. It's important to remember this, especially when one aspect of our life begins to cause us distress. I wish I could show this to my family. They are insane workaholics. If you have an unproductive day, you may as well not exist. I constantly have to remind myself that normal people don't spend that much time working. I sometimes fall into this when studying. Yes, getting top marks is good, but I mustn't let it start defining me. I'm more than that number. I have a husband who needs some attention and a dog who just wants to go for all the walks. Figure out who you are and where you want to be before trying to get into a relationship. This after a divorce. Happily married now. Much better place emotionally too. Yep. To add, while in a relationship, don't expect our partners to be our therapists. Don't rely on them to fix us and help resolve our traumas. And conversely, don't play the therapist and expect to fix your partner. Definitely learned this the hard way. One day at a time. Honestly, when I scale out any plans to weeks/months/years, all I see is that barely any progress is being made. So I end up quitting altogether. Now I just take most things as they come, do what I do for the day, and stop getting stuck on overall progress, trusting that I'll get there in the end. It's less things on my mind, which has been wonderful for an overthinker like myself. Hour by hour, minute by minute, if you need to. I needed to in 2019. I couldn't win a day if my life depended on it. Hours were difficult. So win, read, feel better than hopeless garbage, a minute at a time. Chaining the minutes together led to hours and days. Sometimes it's the small things. It is okay to seek professional help. I mean, if you had some sickness or pain that wouldn't go away, what would you do? You'd go to the doctor and take care of that shit. Get some medicine, advice, a plan to deal with it moving forward. Yet for some reason there's a reluctance or a stigma around people doing the same with their mental health. Oh, you're in therapy. Oh, you're struggling with substance abuse. Oh, you're on medications for mental problems. We are not supposed to talk about that. I went to my podiatrist today is fine, but not I went to my psychiatrist today for some reason. If you're not feeling mentally okay, then go to the doctor that handles that sort of thing. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed for seeking professional help. That's what it's there for. Sometimes you have to cut off toxic family/friends in order to survive and heal. It is valid. You are not a terrible person. You are doing the brave and responsible thing in order to take care of yourself. Hadn't heard this until 2020. It's okay to not feel okay. It really did help. Sometimes you've got to be selfish. I've always found it really hard to be selfish. I care way more about everyone else in my life than I do about myself. Someone once put it to me like this and it really hit home. You need to be the star of your own life. If you can do something about it, don't worry, you can do something about it. If you can't do something about it, don't worry, it's out of your hands. No amount of worry will change it. There are a lot of times where it's unclear whether I can do something about it, or where I can do something about it, but have to decide what that is. Those are the times that get me. It was posted somewhere on Reddit before, but it stuck with me. Ask yourself, if I was trying to make a person as unhappy as possible, what would I do? You'll tend to find that not giving yourself a chance to sleep by downing coffee, not thinking about screen time, not eating properly, not showering or washing clothes etc. are actually pretty reliable ways to depress even a happy person. This won't fix your problems, but it will remind you you have some agency in your life. I spent ages depressed and not wanting to do anything but drink and sleep, but realizing I was kind of just waiting to magically become happy helped me take action. A shower, clean sheets/clothes and a good meal can really help you feel like you're moving in the right direction again. You don't have to do them all at the same time, but you usually have the power to do at least one. Work to live. Don't live to work. This one seems like a dumb motivational poster quip on the surface, but it really is a huge deal. It's about how you frame what's actually important. When you work to live, that means your job is just a means to an end. You work to earn the money you need in order to do everything else, because it's the everything else that takes priority and is what defines you. When you live to work, the priority switches and everything else becomes secondary to the work. Work defines you, and you give up everything else in order to accommodate it. On the surface, and for a lot of people, these two won't necessarily look all that different, but how you think about and prioritize them can have massive impact on your mental health. Don't obsess and beat yourself up over things that make you think, why did I say that? Why did I embarrass myself? Etc. No one cares. They probably don't remember, and they are more concerned about themselves anyway. Also, if you now know not to do that thing, that means you have grown better since then. Learn to say no. Apostrophe. You can't help everyone. You only have so much bandwidth. It's okay to just shut everyone out for an evening. Similarly, no is a full sentence. If you say no and someone asks why, they are looking for what they perceive to be weaknesses in your reasoning. This makes you second guess yourself and your priorities, which is frankly rude on the asker's part. Also, I don't want to is a valid response. You have a lot going on in your life that other people don't know about. It's okay to have time to yourself to unwind or take a break. You don't have to explain every single reason or thought process you have. No is valid enough on its own. It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness, that is life. Captain Jane Luckbucket reminds me of Nokia. In a press conference, Nokia executive said almost exact same thing, to the tunes of "we didn't do anything wrong, but still lost a lot of mobile phone market share in a year." Try to get adequate and consistent sleep. This means more upvotes. Do things slowly. When we are stressed, we don't notice our breath. Take deliberately slow breaths. Everything is fine. It's never that serious. While you're at it, also take a moment to relax your shoulders, unclench your jaws, stretch your limbs. Keep a diary. Seriously, It's good to actually write stuff down on paper with a pen or pencil. Thoughts are just thoughts. This actually helps me a lot. Be kind to yourself. Hey PSSST. Please subscribe and like.